Welcome to another edition of the Ultimate Weigh-In Show. I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMALOTN. This week, we're going over UFC Vegas 37, headlined by a light heavyweight scrap between Anthony Smith and Ryan Spann. Almost forgot Ryan Spann's name for a second there, but very interesting main event that we got here. It's Ryan Spann's first time up there in the main event slot, so let's see how he deals with that. But I know with a guy like Saif Saud in his corner, he's definitely going to be ready to go. I'm very much looking forward to that. The reason I bring up Saif Saud is because I think he's one of the better coaches that are out there. Luckily for us, we got another great coach joining us for this week. If you guys remember the last episode that I did, I had my guy James Krause on, along with Eddie Chaw. Unfortunately, Eddie wasn't really that ready in terms of the fighters that were competing on the card, and he continued to toot the horn of our guy Santino DeFranco, and he goes, oh, if you want somebody on that's going to give you some picks, give you some good insight, Santino's the guy to have on. So luckily, shout out to my guy Eddie Chaw. He's able to bring in our guy Santino DeFranco here. Santino, what's going on, my guy?
Hey, not much, man. I appreciate you having me on here. Eddie is always trying to get me more media stuff and doing more stuff, and I'm the worst. I don't do anything. I'm a hermit. Leave me alone in a closet, and let me just stay off social media, stay out of it. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, and talking fights. That's what I love to do.
Absolutely. I did a little bit of stalking on you, and I found out that you actually have a YouTube channel as well. I've been so gracious enough to actually put in the description for you guys. If you guys want to go give Santino a subscribe over there. He does some behind-the-scenes stuff, some gym stuff. He even drops his own picks, which is a great start for us here, obviously, because we want to go out there and cast some tickets. According to Eddie, though, you've been on a bit of a heater over the last couple of weeks with LFA and UFC and all that stuff. Are you an avid gambler per se, or how would you clarify or classify yourself in that regard?
Man, so yes, but no. And I gamble on most of the fights, and on most of the fight cards, not on most of the fights, because I think if I don't, I won't bet on a fight just to bet on a fight. So I will look at a card, I will see what fights I like, I'll see the bets, I'll see the picks, and if it makes sense, then I will bet on them. But if I don't like anything, I won't do it. And I'm so lame with my dollar amounts, like. I got a good buddy of mine who is betting 10, 20, $30,000 a fight a week. Like not a fight, but like a fight card, like these major big things. So he's winning, losing 10, 20, $50,000, which is too much for me. I'm like, what I do is, I guess gambling's legal in Arizona now. It just, sports gambling just opened up, but I always go to Bovada, use them, and I'll start with $100. I'll build that up to about $1,000. Then I take it out, leave $100 in there, and then do it again and again and again. But I'm making like $25, $50 bets. When I start to build more money, I'll make $100, $200 bets, but I can't lose money. It's not in my DNA.
Yeah, no, I hear you for sure. It's definitely very nerve-wracking when you have like upwards of what, $500 down or $1,000 down on a single fight card alone. So it's good to keep yourself in check, and good for you in terms of remaining disciplined, because a lot of people can go off the handle and try to again get 20, 30 grand down and probably not know anything about the fighters either. Just like, oh, this guy's Russian, let me just bet on him, he's probably going to end up winning or something like that, right?
If you're going to go on blind bets, that's the single best thing you could do, is bet on a Russian. Like if you don't know what's going on, like you bet the Russian. And if he's a Dagestani Russian, you bet double on the Dagestani Russian. Yeah,
exactly. Two things I actually want to touch on before we get into the breakdowns of the fights that we're going to be talking about for tomorrow. You yourself, former fighter, was on the Ultimate Fighter season 9, I believe it was. And then after that, just up and call it quits. If you don't mind me asking, what was the reason behind that, and how did you end up finding yourself in the head coaching position or one of the coaching positions over there at Fight Ready?
Well, I stopped fighting because I had a brain aneurysm. And so it was before I actually stopped fighting. I stopped fighting. I was supposed to be on the second season of The Ultimate Fighter. And then I think about 11-2 or something like that. Had a brain aneurysm, had brain surgery, came back, and I sucked after I came back. Like, I mean, I just mentally, like sometimes I would show up, sometimes I wouldn't show up. And I just, I didn't want to not know if I was going to show up or not. I have too much respect for myself, the sport. I didn't want to be one of these guys that fights for a paycheck and gets hit and taps out, and he's, 10-50 with a, a record like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I quit. And then, I was opened my own gym for a while, but then I sold that, went to grad school. I was actually teaching college English for years. And then eventually I just started training people more and more and more and more, which brought me to Fight Ready. And I also coached at another gym, Siege MMA, and now I'm coaching fighters and talking with you.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. It's great that we're able to stay within the industry itself, right? Like obviously you don't want to half-ass a sport like MMA. It's not like basketball where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna get blown up by 60 points if I'm not on my game, compared to MMA where you're gonna get, knocked out cold, and it has crazy effects on your health, especially long term. So it's good on you in terms of making that choice, right? That was a big part of you for a long time in your life, and you had to hang it up for unfortunate reasons. But at least you're still in the sport. You're engulfed in it. You're teaching other people, and you guys are damn good at it over there at Fight Ready. I must say, obviously, you guys got Cejudo, and Tracy Cortez is doing great things as well. Haile Alateng, who's obviously fighting tomorrow. I feel like he has some really good potential as well. Last thing though, before we do get into it, obviously big news. Wiley Zhang is over there at Fight Ready now. I believe she's already taken a couple pictures and had some training sessions out there with you guys. How has that gone, if you don't mind me asking? And how does it feel in terms of having her at the gym with you guys already?
Well, one, did I cut? Okay, I lost myself for a second. I was like, where did I go? Man, it's been great so far. She's just been in for about a week. Got the first week of training down, kind of getting to know each other, getting to know her skill set. I mean, of course, you watch tape, but tape is only what we see in a fight. We don't really know what type of skill set people have outside of MMA, and usually it's huge. Do you can somebody wrestle? Can somebody strike? Can somebody kick? Can somebody this and that? We see what we see in a fight, but that's 10%, 5% of what a person is actually capable of. So we just spent the week kind of, feeling it out, getting some workouts in, seeing where she's strong, where we think we can improve, and just kind of introducing ourselves and kind of a letting her adjust to the time change as well. So it was, we got good work in, but we definitely weren't trying to redline anything yet.
Yeah, for sure. And last question about that. Did she actually bring in her coaches with her and doing it like that? Or is she just giving you guys free reign right now and you kind of just taking the wheel?
So actually a little bit of both. All of her, I mean, I don't know if all of her coaches, but she has, 3 or 4 coaches in with her. But they have given us, free reign for the most part as well. So they have given us the ability to do what we want to do, but we're absolutely talking with them and getting their input. We're not arrogant enough to think that we know everything. They've done a great job with her at this point. So we'd be foolish to try and cut them out or anything. They're great people. They're great trainers. And we're just trying to add a couple little areas that we think we can help complement the training versus switch the training.
Yeah, there's no need to overhaul her, especially when she's had one bump in the road. Let's be honest, there's one title fight where she ends up on the losing end. You don't need to overhaul it completely, but I do like the fact that she's actually going out and seeking out help to try to just, straighten it out a little bit more. And I feel like making a jump over to you guys is obviously a great thing. You guys have a solid group, but you guys don't have like a ATT type of roster, right? Or an Extreme Couture type of roster. You guys have a finite amount of guys that you're able to focus on there.
And I honestly, I hope we never get to that size. I don't like, I like quality. I'm a perfectionist. I never want to have more people than I can give all of my attention to. I've got 2 children. And after I had my first child, my wife was like, well, we need more children. And I said, look, I have a finite amount of love that I can give. Like, I don't think I can love you, a child, and someone else. Like, so, I mean, she got me at 2 children, but I think there's a little bit of sacrifice to love from her and my firstborn that have gone into my secondborn. So, same with my time in MMA. Like, I do not have, I don't want to group things. I want to be hands-on and really focused on it.
Awesome. All right, let's get into the picks. This is what people are actually here for. I did want to extract a little bit of that information out from you first, just to, say break the ice, right? That's what they call it, icebreaker right there. So let's get into the fights here. We got a 14 fight slate. Obviously, one fight did drop off the other day, I believe, between Nicholas Mota and Cameron Van Camp. I believe Van Camp had something show up on his medicals, and they had to pull him out of the fight. So we are down to 14 fights. So start off at the bottom here. We got Emily Whitmire going up against Hannah Goldy. In terms of odds, we're looking at minus 115-ish for Emily Whitmire, plus 105 for Hannah Goldy. I'll just quickly start off here. I do believe Hannah Goldy would get her hand raised here. Not with the utmost confidence. I think she's going to go out there, do what Hannah Goldy does, right? Just she plays on the outside. She uses her volume a little bit. But I did notice something, at least from, following her on IG and all that. She's doing a lot of work with Marina Shafir, obviously former judo standout, doing a lot of work with Jillian Robertson as well, which kind of leads me to believe that she might look to grapple a little bit here, even with Emily Whitmire. I believe that Emily, oh shit, there he is. Eddie Cha. How's it going, brother?
He said, "Oh, he can't even hear you."
Oh, you can't hear me. I didn't realize.
No, I've got the headphones in. Yeah, I've got the headphones in.
Just tell him I said what up.
That's hi. Hey, yeah, will you leave that door open? I'm in Haley's workout room, and Perfect. It is a sweat box in here. It's like 87 degrees, and Eddie's turning the temperature down for me. So thank you, Eddie. Turn the air on ice. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. So. Anyway, though, I love it. So yeah. First of all, so we'll get into Emily Whitmire and Hannah Goldy in a second. But you had me on here on the card where there's 7,000 fights, which has never happened before. And with 6,000 of those fights, I don't know a good portion. I actually do know a good portion considering how many there are. But there are quite a few, I don't know if you'd call them unknown, but a little bit obscure fighters on the card. Like, this is not a big household name card. Just so we're clear.
No, for sure. Absolutely. Like, I don't expect you. I believe I reached out to you earlier. I'm like, I don't expect you to know everybody here, and you're absolutely welcome to hit the pass if you want to hit the pass here.
No,
I know there are
I
some
think
fights on here.
It's just a funny card to see when you're like, you see a lot of fight cards and you're like, whoa, where are the names that I'm used to seeing? But separately, so Emily Whitmire and Hannah Goldy, I have to disagree with you. I think Whitmire gets it done, and not in this. For everything I say, I'm very derogatory for a lot of, and I don't mean it that way. We're talking about fights, so I don't mean to be mean toward people. But you're asking me my picks, how people win, how people lose. So please don't take this personally, people. But I think Whitmire is not an athlete. Hold on, he just opened the door where I'm in a fighter hallway talking about the fighters. I'm going to go shut the door so I don't get jumped over here.
Santino DeFranco going to get jumped live on the stream here if he talks bad about Hannah Goldy. Maybe she's in the next room over there.
Yeah, I'm sitting over here. And then there's like people in the workout rooms right next to me of the fighters that I'm about to tell are going to lose for some reason. So anyway, awesome. So Whitmire is longer. She's the cleaner striker, but she's definitely not physical. And you kind of see this almost in this division, probably more so than any other division. You see tall, skinny, unathletic looking people, and then those like short, stocky tanks. Like it's kind of like that. And I think Hannah Goldy, honestly, I think she's tough. And she looks like a mini juggernaut. She is a powerhouse of a human. She's very strong, but her wrestling does not match her, really her physical ability. And she gets hit from the outside. She comes in, she's very square. Emily Whitmire is, for as bad, I guess you would say, of a wrestler as she is, and for how unphysical she is, she's a much more technical boxer. And Hannah Goldy's not some jiu-jitsu phenom where she's going to get her out of there fast. Hannah Goldy's really, her way to win is by being physical and pressing and grinding. And I don't know that is the best option when what is your way to win? To be bigger and stronger, but how does that help? So I think Emily Whitmire gets it. Wouldn't surprise me either way. I think it's a coin toss in terms of like, would I bet money on it? Probably not. I think the variables are too close, but I do think Emily Whitmire gets the win. And if people do like that bet, those are good odds, especially on this card that I think it really favors the favorites for the most part, top to bottom.
Yeah, when I was running through this card earlier this week, I don't think I picked one underdog other than Goldy, and even that was like a very low percentage level of confidence for me. For me, it was more so I feel as though what I like to call it, the path to victory that you're explaining for Goldy, what I like to call is grapple fucking. You know what I mean, push her up against the cage, control time, stay active enough that the referee doesn't separate them or something like that. I feel as though she needs to go out there and do something like that, especially after that last fight against Diana Babita where she got lit up from distance, and Emily Whitmire could absolutely go out there and replicate that type of performance. But I feel like Babita, is a little bit of a better striker. Yeah. But I'm personally, I'm not the highest on Whitmire's striking, but there could be things I'm just not seeing myself. If you know something that I don't know, that's why we have guys like you on.
No, I think you're right. I think she's clean. Yeah. She doesn't have a ton of power. But I think Hannah Goldy is so short as well. There's a big height discrepancy in that power. If Hannah had a little bit better wrestling, I would be confident in that fight. It's her skill set without the wrestling. If she had a little bit better wrestling, I would definitely go with her.
I like it. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. And this is obviously the one that you guys are in Vegas for. We got Gustavo Lopez going up against Haile Alateng. In terms of odds, we're looking at -130 for the fight-ready product, Haile Alateng, and +110 is a return on Gustavo Lopez. I'll obviously let you lead this off. Talk about it as much as you can in terms of not giving away a game plan or, not giving away too much in terms of what Gustavo Lopez might potentially hear from this podcast. But how are you guys approaching this fight, and share what you can, please?
So this will probably be the worst disappointment of all of them. So it's so funny. I'm not anything. I'm not overly religious. I'm not really superstitious. I'm not anything. With fights, though, I have a couple of weird superstitions. I always, and I mean always, clap for my fighters' opponents when they announce them. So, they do the announcements every time. And I mean every single time that I have failed to clap for a fighter's opponent, my fighter loses. And so I will always clap for a fighter. But the other thing is I will never, ever, 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 ever bet on one of my fighters, even if I'm the most confident I've ever been ever. I won't do it. That said, Haley wins this. He is a tank. I'm not going to bet on it, but he is a tank. He's gotten phenomenal. I mean, he was phenomenal when he got here. And we have so many training partners his size in our gym with the striking and the boxing coaches that we have, and our high-level wrestling coach, Angel Cejudo, Henry Cejudo's brother. It just complements the skill set so well. So, I think it's a great fight for Haley. And that's where I'll leave that. I'm being super lame on that, but that's where I'm at with Haley and my guy and everything.
Of course, I don't want you to spill out your game plan or anything like that. That's obviously completely understandable. I do want to give a quick shout out to my guy here, Clint from Die Hard MMA Podcast. He's probably fight ready fan number one. He's saying, Santino, say it with me, Alateng by KO, baby. But I will say this, in terms of my interpretation of this fight, I think both are wrestlings or a wrestling game will kind of nullify each other. I think we might see this play out to be a striking battle. And I got to give the advantage to Haile here, whereas Gustavo Lopez, I see he's a little bit too wild with the striking, right? He goes out there, wide looping hooks. It looks like he's more so just trying to get some damage off and then get out of the way, or look for a takedown behind that, because he's pretty good, in my opinion, in terms of mixing up takedowns behind his strikes. Haile Alateng, though, great wrestling background like we've already spoken about. He already has some good tools that he's bringing to fight ready. I truly think it's going to be his striking that's going to be the difference maker here. I think he's a cleaner, crisper striker, shots down the pipe, should be able to catch Lopez whenever Lopez tries to crash forward. And I think he will do enough damage here. Does he have enough power to knock out Gustavo Lopez? I'm not 100% sure. I think Lopez is quite durable, although he did get knocked out by Yanez last time around. No disrespect to Haile. I do think that Yanez brings a little bit more to the table in terms of technical striking and power that he's able to produce. So I do see this fight going to a decision. If you were to make one prediction here, though, do you think that Haile has that knockout power to put away a guy like Gustavo Lopez?
Man, he's got some power. He's got some pop. We've focused on that quite a bit. Really just settling his feet in to make sure that he's throwing on balance a little bit more. And he's had some phenomenal rounds leading up to this camp. So, the thing with this game in the UFC, everybody's so evenly matched. It's hard to call a finish. Most fights go distance, and will it? I don't know if it will or not, but he definitely has the power to finish Gustavo. Will he? I don't know, but he definitely does have the power to.
Perfect. I like to hear that. All right, let's move on to the next one here. We got Impa Kasanganay going up against Carlston Harris. Pretty much a pick 'em here. Carlston Harris actually opened up as a plus 155 underdog, and the money has drained in, and it's pretty much made it a pick 'em fight. I like Impa Kasanganay here. I think he's the better overall fighter. Will probably have better strikes from the outside, be able to deal with the grapple heavy approach that Carlston would likely bring to the table here, and I think he'll be able to stay out of bad positions. My concern, though, is he didn't look the greatest on the scales this morning, Impa Kasanganay. I'm not sure if you got any eyes on him when you guys were in the back or anything like that. It seems like he had a little bit of a tough cut. From your eyes as a coach, do you see any type of correlation when you have guys that have bad weight cuts and what they look like in the cage, or is that just a myth that we're just making up as bettors and gamblers?
Man, so in terms of what they look like on the scale, it's 100% myth. Like we don't know. Yeah. They could look really bad on the scale, but it wasn't actually the worst weight cut. Conversely, they can look like, oh, they don't look sucked out. They don't look bad. They don't look, and it's the worst weight cut they've ever had in their lives. So in terms of actual aesthetics and seeing it from outsider, I wouldn't put too much stock in it. In terms of what I've seen as a coach, generally bad weight cuts, hard weight cuts really affect the fighters. They really do. But even more so than the weight cut, and this is what people get wrong. The weight cut is secondary. It is the reload and the recovery of the weight cut that matters so much more. So if you could have a great weight cut, but you don't reload and rehydrate and recover properly, honestly, you drink too fast. Okay, well that creates a flushing mechanism in your body. You need to make sure you get sodium right off the bat, tons and tons and tons of sodium right off the bat, because you need your body to hold on to the water that's going to be coming in. Making sure you move around a little bit at night, move around a little bit in the morning, because you've got just all of this water in your stomach, but your body needs to start absorbing it, pushing it into your muscles. So bad weight cuts are very scary as a coach. Bad recoveries, bad reloads are even worse. And the bad thing about the reload is you don't really know how it is. That's kind of all. I mean, we hope to have good ones, but you can't really tell how the reload was until after the fight. So that's the scary part. That said, I don't think so. I think gosh, I'm pulling up my stuff here. I think Harris is a grappling freaking beast, man.
Yeah.
This dude, he is tall, he is gangly. He's got a win over Michel Pereira from, back in the day before they were there. He's beaten Dagestanis in ACB. I think he wins. I think he gets the win. I think his grappling is really underrated. But his striking is not great, but he's good enough to avoid big shots out in the open. He's long and he rushes in. If he can get a body lock, it's a wrap. If he can get a body lock, he rushes the cage. His pure wrestling's not great, but he's tall for the weight class. He gets to the fence. If he can even just shoot and come up to a body lock, all bets are off, man. That's a wrap. So I think Harris wins it. I don't think he has the cage experience that Impa has, but I think he gets the victory with his jiu-jitsu, straight up jiu-jitsu.
Look at that. Like for the first three fights, me and Santino already disagree on two of them, but it is what it is. I like having conflicting opinions and stuff like that. That's what people are here for, and that's what they want to hear about. I do think Impa will be able to maintain that distance, use his striking, keep Carlston on the outside. But Carlston, like you said, not the greatest technical striker, but does have some good power in his hands, and that should be enough, or could be enough, to potentially scare Impa Kasanganay to be able to close that distance, grab that body lock, and drag this fight to the ground.
But who else did his last fight, Christian Aguilar? He had power, and that was not. I mean, he was submitted.
Club and subbed him there. Beautiful spot. Yeah,
2 minutes, and then that was a wrap. He was in there swinging and going. He's kind of a shorter, stockier, powerful guy. And Harris just breezed through it like nothing. I think Impa. I think his striking is decent. but it's there are holes. He's not a world beater. I mean, even watching him with Joaquin. I mean, I know Joaquin Buckley got the finish at the end and everything, but if you watch that fight beforehand, he looks a little frail. He didn't handle the pressure well. His punches come at funny angles. They're not like super clean down the middle. He kind of throws them, but I'm not overly wowed by him. But I think Harris could actually make a splash here in a little bit. If Harris wins this fight, I think he gets a little bit of noise behind him. I think it was his second fight in the UFC. Was Aguilera his first fight?
I believe he won his spot in the UFC with that Looking for a Fight show, because I believe they were in
you're right.
Abu Dhabi doing that
They were in Abu
UAE
Dhabi.
Warrior show.
Yes, that
and
was
that's
him.
where he beat the Dagestani and then eventually got
Yes.
that contract. But yeah, he's 34 years old. He's got to get it going now, right? Like get a dominant win over Impa Kasanganay. Impa's a respectable name within the organization. So if he's able to get that dub, I'm sure he's going to be put on a little bit of a fast track. All right, let's move things along. We still got a handful of fights to go through here. We got Aaron Blanchfield going up against Cyril Alpar, minus 380 for the debutant Aaron Blanchfield, and the return on Sarah Alpar is plus 340. Are you familiar with these women? What's your take on
I'm gonna be
this
super
matchup?
annoying on a couple of these coming up now. I have some sort of link. I'm like 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon over here with this because I understand I'm super annoying to the viewers, to people. Oh, I know this. Oh, my fighter fought this. Oh, this is not. This is the first one. Tracy Cortez fought Aaron Blanchfield in Invicta.
Yes.
And Tracy won a split decision. And this to date, including Tracy's loss, was her hardest fight. Aaron Blanchfield is tough as shit. She is good. She was good when she fought Tracy, 2.5 years ago. She's even better now. Her striking has improved. I'm assuming she has improved. Alpar, she's a jiu-jitsu girl. She's going to try and get this fight to the ground. That could be the worst thing she would do with Aaron Blanchfield, because Aaron Blanchfield has phenomenal jiu-jitsu. This is one of those fights. I know would you say she was negative 380?
Minus 380, yeah, pretty big.
Minus 380. Okay, so that's a big favorite. But in the stock market, you go with you want to buy a good stock at a fair price, not a fair stock at a good price.
Yeah.
And Aaron Blanchfield is a good stock. It doesn't matter the price. She is going to incrementally rise. You're going to win some money on her, but it's not this boom or bust. What you don't want to do is pick these big dogs who you're like, oh, but what if they could this? What if they could that? Oh, if that one lucky punch. And that is a fair stock at a good price, which we don't want. You don't want that. Aaron Blanchfield wins this, hands down. Bet whatever you were gonna bet on any of the other fights you were uncertain of, put on Aaron Blanchfield.
I have somebody in my community that's a huge Aaron Blanchfield fight, so I'm sure he's losing his shit right now hearing what you're saying about her. But yeah, I agree. She's 22 years old. She still has some growing to do, but we do see that improvement on a fight-to-fight basis. Like from her fight with Tracy Cortez all the way to her last fight with Brogan Sanchez, we saw an improvement with her striking in particular, right? She's using her striking very well to be able to blend in the takedowns, drag the fight to the ground, and have success there as well. Or she's able to decapitate chicks like she did against Victoria Leonardo with that beautiful head kick in the second round in her second last fight. So she definitely is making improvements. Sarah Alpar, on the other hand, been out for a little while. She's obviously trying to rebound after that Jessica Rose Clark fight. But I feel like with her rudimentary style of just trying to drag fights to the ground, and here, especially trying to drag it to the ground against a high-level BJJ practitioner like Aaron Blanchfield, he's probably in for a rough night. So yeah, I'm glad that we agree with Aaron Blanchfield there. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. Another guy with a lot of hype on him coming into the UFC, still trying to flesh himself out. He has Montel Jackson going up against JP Bays. Very fun fight. I'll quickly kick this one off for you guys. I love the fight doesn't go to decision on this fight. It's minus 200. I've already parlayed it with something later on this card that we'll talk about, but I love this spot. I think that either Montel Jackson goes out there, gets a submission or a TKO himself, or JP Bays finds an early finish himself. JP, in my opinion, has a bit of a cardio issue and has a little bit of a durability issue, in my opinion. When he gets hit clean by certain guys, it seems like he almost hits a wall, looks for the exit sign, and guys are able to get the finish quickly out of there. I know a lot of people are saying, Montel Jackson couldn't finish Felipe Clark, so how is he going to finish a guy like JP Bays? He hit Clark with everything and the kitchen sink in that fight. If you guys remember, go back and watch it. He almost got him out of there. Clark is just a dog. If Montel Jackson brings that same fight here against JP Bays, he's getting Bays out of there. Again, I'm a huge fan of JP Bays, former Fortis guy. I believe he followed his wife out there to Extreme Couture now. We'll see how that changes his game, if anything. But one thing that it can change is his durability. I think that's where he's going to have some issues. And I'm taking Montel Jackson to win this fight, probably by first or second round KO. But I do like the fight doesn't go to decision here. Minus 200, a little bit juicy, but I think it's as close to a lock that I played, to be honest. Santino, how do you feel about this matchup?
I agree 1,000 billion percent.
Let's go.
Man, Montel is a beast. He is phenomenal. And actually, for everything I said on Aaron Blanchfield, I lie. Do all of that with Montel because. Oh wait, no. Wait, did you say he was minus?
He's like minus 600. So I took the
mind.
Fight doesn't go to decision. So one of them getting a finish.
Okay. I was thinking you said he was minus 200. I was like, oh my gosh, how much money do I have in my account? I need to bet all that. But yeah, okay, yeah. See, in my head, I was thinking that he was a bigger favorite, and that minus 200. I think it was the parlay that you were saying. But no, here's the second fight. JP Bays fought Bruno Silva, who trains with us. And Bruno starts him in the second round. And Bruno's a small 25er. I think JP Bays, I think his wrestling is way overstated. They're talking about him going for the Olympics and this and that. Like, if he's going for the Olympics, I'm going for the Olympics. You're going for we're all going for the Olympics.
Let's go. Let's do it.
No, I think Montel gets it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Montel Jackson gets a submission.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. He did it with Kelleher. He rocked him badly. Yes. Kelleher shot, and he's got those long arms, and he darced him. Anaconda darced him, I forget, right off the bat. But I wouldn't be surprised with that. I do think you're right. I think people fight JP Bays, and he looks for a way out. He is not durable. He does not like to strike, and he doesn't like to get hit. And I think once he does get hit, he might start looking for the shot in bad positions, which is going to give his neck up to Montel. So whether he gets a TKO or whether he gets a submission, the strikes are going to lead to that. Montel, kind of easy pick right there. Not to say that these picks are all going to win, but in my head, that's not a toss up. That's a pretty favorable matchup for Montel.
I like it. I will say this. I'm a big fan of Bruno Silva, obviously another guy making tremendous improvements over there at Fight Ready as well. But when I saw him having as much striking success as he did against JP Bays, and the kind of look on JP Bays' face every time he got hit, it just doesn't look good, especially now going up against a guy like Montel Jackson, who I think probably hits harder than Bruno Silva and probably has a little bit more sneaky of an offensive jiu-jitsu game. I think JP's in some trouble here, yeah?
Well, he's also twice the size. You put Bruno on top of Bruno and you have Montel. Like, I mean, like, he's huge.
He's a big dude.
Good.
I think that the main thing is that he has the same hand size or glove size as Francis, which is absolutely crazy as a 135er.
Yeah.
Good God.
Get out of here. It's I really like watching Montel fight, and I think he's gonna have a good showcase here. This, honestly, like, let's get a little stupid here. He could 50K bonus this fight. This is a fight where he could 50K bonus it.
I like it. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Rong taking on Brandon Jenkins. Brandon Jenkins obviously coming in on short notice here. In terms of his odds, he's sitting around plus 250. Minus 270 is the return on Rong. Rong, the only person to miss weight this morning. I think he was about 2 pounds off. I think he was lost in translation as well, as he's celebrating on the scale, thinking that he made weight, which was probably one of the more hilarious parts.
Okay.
Yeah, he missed weight by 2 pounds. Again, it looked like he thought he made weight because he started celebrating and all that stuff, but I think his coach just told him afterwards. But he didn't end up cutting the extra weight, so he was still 2 pounds over. Looked in good spirits. Didn't look like a guy that was having a tough weight cut to begin with. So I don't think there's too much to read into in terms of that. However, I think the odds here are way too wide. It's close to minus 300 here on Rong. Brandon Jenkins, he's not the scrub that they just picked up off the street. This guy has some decent skills. He's 15-7. He has a plethora of fights on his record. Like we said last time around, he went out there in PFL a couple weeks ago and flying knee the shit out of Jacob Kilburn. Beautiful flying knee knockout from him there. And now he's making a quick turnaround coming into the UFC. Rong, 21 years old, 21 fights. Absolutely crazy what they're doing with these Chinese prospects over there before bringing them over here to the North American scene. But I still feel as though he has some holes in his game. I don't mind his striking, a little bit more of a strict or a crisper striker, I should say. Shots down the middle, good shots, good technique. Brandon Jenkins, on the other hand, I believe his nickname is the highlight reel, and you definitely see it whenever you see him fight. The guy likes to jump, the guy likes to throw spinning stuff, whatever it is. He has some big power in his shots. I am reluctantly picking Rong here, but I do think that there is some value on Brandon Jenkins as a pretty big dog here. The spot that I actually like a lot is the under. I do think that we're going to see a knockout in this fight or a finish. The under 2.5 currently sits around minus 125. I feel as though there's going to be some value there, especially considering the short notice nature that Brandon Jenkins is actually jumping into this fight with. Probably not the greatest cardio, in terms of taking this fight on short notice. So maybe he's just going in there with this thought that I got to push the pace, I got to find this finish. Otherwise, the later this fight goes, my cardio is probably going to drop off, and this kid will probably start to take over. Do you know much about Brandon Jenkins? What's the word on that kid?
A little bit. So I think Jenkins is, he's not a world beater. And I think his striking is not overly clean. He's a little tall. His chin is high. He got the flying knockout over Kilburn, but two things with that. One, Kilburn, I think he was 0-3 in the UFC. I think his only, and he got in the UFC because COVID happened. There were fights that needed to be filled, and he got the call because of that. Even before that, flying knee, I think Kilburn, for as sloppy as he was winning that fight. And he just happened to duck into it. I am not sold on Zhu Rong. Am I saying that right? Zhu Rong?
I hear Rong, Zhu Rong. I'm just going
my pronunciations are horrible, but I really, the good thing he has going for him, the biggest thing he has going for him is height and age. Okay, so those two things, that alone, being 21 is going to make him durable. You know what I mean? He's a little taller. Kilburn, I think, is 5'8". So a flying knee from somebody. Jenkins is 5'11", 6 foot. Flying knees like that are going to come easier to somebody at that height differential. But he's not going to have that with Zhu Rong. So that said, Zhu Rong in his debut looked clean. He looked technical. His striking was solid. His movement was good. He looked like he knew what he was doing. And he got hit with every punch thrown at him, and it didn't matter what. So it makes me think, was that an adrenaline dump? He's 17-2, 17-3 coming into his UFC debut. His striking, again, it looked clean, but man, he got hit with everything, and it doesn't matter if it was telegraphed or what. It was hit. He was getting hit with it. That leads me to believe there's an adrenaline issue, that you're just slow. You're kind of in slow motion, because when he threw, he looked good. He landed some good shots, but again, he just did not look great. He looked like he was lost in the mud, stuck in the mud. I think he's going to have a better showing this time, and I think he is the superior, cleaner striker. And same thing that I said earlier is, bet on a good stock at a fair price, not a fair stock at a good price. And I think when I look at Brandon Jenkins, I see a guy who has got to Hail Mary a pass to get the win. And those aren't odds that I like. Guys that Hail Mary, again, in lower level fights, stuff like that, it's whatever. But in the UFC, you can't count on a Hail Mary. 9 out of 10 times, the 5-yard runs and inching across the field and scoring 3 points for 4 quarters is a better option than throwing 60-yard Hail Mary passes hoping to win. And because of that, I think Zhu Rong wins. I'm not sold on him, but I think we're going to see a better version than we did last time.
Yeah, that was that fight card where actually Weili Zhang ended up losing. They had 3 Chinese prospects on the card, so maybe there's a lot of pressure on them to perform on the prelims, and then obviously leading into that main event or that co-main event, I can't remember what it was, with Weili Zhang. But hopefully we see a better version of himself. Will he be able to cover -300? I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully we see at least a little bit better version of himself this time than he did against Rodrigo Vargas in his debut. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Patty Kianzad going up against Raquel Pennington. We got -115 on Pennington, +105 on Patty Kianzad. Pretty much a pick 'em fight here. Santino, I'll actually let you kick this one off. How do you think this matchup goes down between these two bantamweights?
It's funny. I was going to say, I don't know. I mean, I've seen Raquel fight, of course. I've never seen Panny fight. And
okay, that's one fighter I thought you would have.
This is yours. Whatever you were going to say, I was going to agree with 100%, because this one actually, in the next one, I'm like, huh? Like,
Okay, I'll
these
take
are
the reins on
people?
the next two. I got you. I got you. Yeah, no, I like what Raquel brings to the table here. I think that she's one of those fighters that's not great at anything, but she's good at a lot of things. And she's really good at terms of like meshing those things together, from her striking to her takedowns to her clinch game. Her cardio is obviously one of the better things. Obviously, training there in Colorado helps a little bit, but she's been known to go out there and put on a bit of a pace on her opponents. Penny Kianzad, disciplined striker, sometimes a little bit too disciplined though, where she waits a little bit too much and almost lets her opponent kind of just take over, optically speaking, to the judges, right? Like the fight against Alexis Davis last time around for Penny Kianzad. Yeah, Penny won that fight, but if you go to MMA decisions, there's a lot of people that actually scored that fight for Alexis Davis, and it was more so just based off of Alexis moving forward, throwing shots, and even though she wasn't landing the biggest shots or the more significant strikes, it optically speaking, it didn't look the greatest towards the judges, which is why some people actually thought Alexis won that fight. The official record does show Penny Kianzad winning that fight, and that's what matters at the end of the day. She's the one going home with 2 checks rather than the one that Alexis Davis had to that night. Here, though, I think if you're getting touched up by Alexis Davis, in my opinion, and this is no shade at Alexis Davis, you're gonna have some trouble.
We're talking
like
fights, man. We're talking
man.
winners and
Santino,
losers and fights.
One thing I'm going to tell you. So when I started having like coaches and you guys on, I try to bite my tongue a little bit because I want to be expressive in terms of how I feel about these fighters and say what I feel about them and be respectful about it. But people got to remember, like, they're humans at the end of the day, and they're also fighters at the end of the day.
Well, you don't have to like call them like trash buckets. Like, you don't have to make fun of people. But we're analyzing fights here. It's okay. We've gotta, like, this is we're talking about winners and losers in fights. Yeah. One thing I always say is, man, in a room full of fighters, and this is in the gym, there are always a lot of bitches because, like, man, we can punch and kick each other in the face, but man, if you even like nudged something or moved or looked, man, everyone's passive aggressive, everyone's upset, everybody's like, man, just let it go, let it out, let the hate out.
like think about it. Now we're talking about whether they're going to win or lose the fight. I'm sure they might get their panties in a little bunch, right? So that's why you have to close the door at the beginning of the podcast.
Exactly. I'm shutting doors so I don't get jumped over here. But if they see it, I'll be like, hey, man, I said it. I'm sorry.
Business and personal. Let's keep them separate.
We're breaking down fights. We're breaking down fights. I
so
like you. I think
Pennington,
you're gonna lose.
Pennington, I do believe she's going to be able to stay in Penny's face, really make it tough for her to get her striking going, and then she should be able to mix in a couple of some clinches and some takedown work. Here, I do think she'll land a couple of takedowns to get some control time here. I will say the one fight that I kind of look back on to kind of gauge whether Raquel Pennington will have success here is when she went up against Irene Aldana a couple fights ago. I feel like Aldana is a much more difficult fight for Raquel Pennington, and she was able to pass that, albeit by a split decision, but I feel like she's going to have less resistance and less power to worry about, I think, at the end of the day, which is going to be the difference maker for her here. She's not going to be scared to close the distance. She's not going to be scared to push the pace and stay in front of her face. And that's why I'm going with Pennington here. And I think we're getting a pretty damn good line, right? -115, pretty much a pick and fight here. I do like her in this spot. Based off of what I just broke down, is there anything you feel like you can add to this matchup?
Man, I mean, Raquel is tough. And what you said is she mixes it well and she trains at altitude. And she's in your face. She's grimy. She's grindy. And that's going to be a hard thing to deal with. And like you said, Irina did it well, but she is so tall and she is clean.
And power.
And yes, and she's got some starch in her. She does. So, no, I think that was good analysis of Raquel. I don't know Penny well, but Raquel, it seems like she's just getting better with age.
Yeah, exactly. She's a fighter that was never really that high on, but now I'm starting to give her some respect because she's going out there and pushing some of these opponents. All right, let's move on to I believe this is the prelim headliner. We got Tefon Nchukwi going up against Mike Rodriguez, and I'll take the reins here, Santino. Don't worry about it. We got odds -150 or -110 for Tefon, plus 100-ish, -110 on Mike Rodriguez. Both guys not great fights last time around. Tefon obviously coming up short against Junyoung Park, and then on the Mike Rodriguez side, he came up short against Danilo Marquez, where he just could not get Danilo off of him. Danilo managed to continuously drag him to the ground and then eventually find that submission at the ending of the second round. I expect this fight to be a stand-up fight for the most part, right? Both guys are predominantly strikers. Mike Rodriguez will obviously have a height advantage here. I believe he's 3 inches taller, and I do think he has about a 3 or 4 inch reach advantage as well. I think that the more technical striking will come from the Tafon side, not to mention some of the power that he has. I like his consistency as well in terms of his output. And then when he's in the clinch, he stays active. And that's one thing I really like from fighters, rather than just having them push their opponent up against the cage and, slowly work for a takedown. He's not really working for a takedown. He's just, softening you up with knees to the thigh and just trying to rough you up, stay busy enough. Mike Rodriguez has some good power, in the clinch, obviously, like when we saw him knock out Marcin Prachnio a couple fights ago with some beautiful elbows. But I do feel as though sometimes he has a little bit of a mental issue at times. And I feel like that's something very difficult for a lot of fighters to get over. I don't think he's going to go out there and mentally break a guy like Tafon. Tafon is an absolute beast. And I feel like people are jumping off his train too quickly after he lost as a favorite against Jun Young Park last time around. Now he's going back up to a light heavyweight where he won't be at such a speed disadvantage. Although Mike Rodriguez will have a speed advantage in this fight, I don't think it's going to be tremendous that it's a fight changer. So I'm picking Tafon here. I actually think Tafon can go out there and knock out Mike Rodriguez as well. I think Rodriguez has a questionable chin, questionable durability, and I feel like Tafon, notorious finisher on the regional scene. Obviously, it gets harder once you get to the UFC and start getting levels up in competition, but I feel as though he'll be able to find that shot and put Mike Rodriguez down. Is there anything you know about either of these guys that you wanna add here?
I don't even know if I've seen either of them fight. Maybe I have seen them fight, but I just don't recollect. But that I think is the only fight that I really don't have an idea as to who is who.
All right, perfect. No worries. We'll keep this thing moving along.
Eddie showed up with some pizza for me too.
Hey, so. Perfect. Shout out to Eddie.
Sweet.
Dr. Rex Lee, this is give you a slice for your ear.
Next week, Eddie. Next week. All right. Let's move on to the main card here. We got 5 or 6 fights left here. Joaquin Buckley going up against Antonio Arroyo. In terms of odds, we're looking at plus 170 for Arroyo and minus 185 for Buckley. Buckley obviously coming back after that knockout from the hands of Alessio Di Chirico back in January, and now he finally has that pressure off of his back that he had to continuously try to live up to after that beautiful knockout he had over Impa Kasanganay late last year. I'll hand this over to you, brother. How do you feel about Buckley in this matchup going up against a tall, lanky striker in Antonio Arroyo?
Man, I think Buckley wins. I think hands down, I think Buckley wins. Arroyo's tall, but I don't know if they're listing his height. I'm sorry, not his height, his reach correctly. They have him listed at 73-inch reach. He's 6'3". I am 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. Like that is like
wow, let me confirm that number for you.
Yeah, like that's just crazy. I mean, I think Tapology has him at 73 and a half.
UFC stats also has him at 73 inches as well.
Yeah, so Buckley. I think Buckley has 76-inch reach.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
It is what they have. That said, Arroyo, he thinks he's all right. There's a trend, and it's driving me nuts. These people think they're karate fighters, and Arroyo has been standing in this karate stance. And it's generally jiu-jitsu people are non-native strikers are using this karate stance. I think it's because it creates a distance, that long guarded sword frame. It lets people who aren't comfortable fighting in the pocket and really taking hits with 4-ounce gloves, it lets them have a little bit more distance, a little bit more range. But the thing is, they don't actually know what they're doing there. When it comes down to it, eventually you've got to put your hands at your chin, sit in your hips, and throw down. And so you can be in a karate stance how you want, but if you don't know what the hell you're doing in a karate stance, it doesn't do you any good. I don't think he knows what the hell he's doing in a karate stance. I don't think his wrestling is great. His jiu-jitsu is not bad. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is his strong point. He's going to try and get it to the ground. But even that, I'm not like, I don't know that I would, even if he got him down a couple of times. All right, maybe the end of the second round, we start getting to the third round, Buckley fades. Okay, now there's some jiu-jitsu stuff. All right, now he starts throwing stuff. But round one, early round two, Buckley is solid. He's a clean striker. He throws with heat. We've seen that. But he doesn't just throw one punch. He throws 15 punches, all with heat. But he's a tight puncher as well. Arroyo, he reaches. He's all over the place. He'll shoot from far away when he gets into trouble. Yeah, he's tall. He's huge. I don't think he has anything to like. I don't think he knows what to do with that range. I'm going with Buckley all the way on this. I mean, outside of him dragging it into the third round and maybe tiring Buckley out, because we haven't seen Buckley's ground game much, have we? I mean, I don't think, has he ended up on the ground in any of his fights?
Not that I can recall. Honestly, all of his fights have pretty much been striking. Kevin Holland,
Yeah.
Impa Kasanganay, like, yeah, it's pretty much all been striking.
And even with Impa or Holland, I forget who it was, caught a kick, blasted him with the overhand, put him on his back. I forget which one, but then
I know Kevin Holland knocked him out in the third round. That was also a short notice spot for Buckley, though. So I kind of give him a little bit of slack there.
I'm going with Buckley, man. He's got, I think, better competition, infinitely better stand-up fight IQ, technique. Yeah, I'm going with Buckley out of the way.
Yeah, I do like Buckley here too. I actually think he's going to have the cardio advantage here as well, which should help him in terms of continuously moving forward, throwing his barrage of strikes, breaking Antonio Arroyo, and then eventually finding that chin. Arroyo notoriously slows down later in fights, and you can't be doing that against a heavy puncher like Buckley here. I think that Buckley's going to find that chin at a certain point and get that knockout and get back onto a winning track. I do want to ask you a question about this. When you come off such a fucking spectacular knockout like he did against Impa Kasanganay, like what do you think that does to a fighter in terms of going out there and like just for example, like his next fight was against Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja, right? He goes out there and as the fight's about to start, they show the highlight of the knockout from the fight before, like literally right before the referee says fight. I've never seen that happen in MMA before. So imagine being Jordan Wright in the apex, staring across from Joaquin Buckley, and just before the fight's about to start, you look up at the screen and they saw him knocking the fuck out of Kasanganay. Like, I'm now I just want to talk from the Buckley side of things. Like, what do you think that does to a fighter when you have that thing in the back of your head? I got to live up to a certain expectation.
To Buckley, I don't think it does anything. I think to his opponent showing that right beforehand, they're going, shit, like this dude just murked a guy on TV and I'm standing in front of him now and this is on TV and oh crap, I hope he doesn't murk me like that. On the Buckley side, I think it's another Saturday. It's you just wake up, you show up, you do stuff. I don't think for me anyway.
I feel like he put pressure on himself, right? Like the UFC's invested in me now because I provided them such a crazy highlight. Now they're giving me somewhat favorable matchups to go out there and try to create more highlights, right? And then he gets knocked out by Alessio Di Chirico in January. Yeah. Now it's got to feel like, okay, let me just go back to doing Joaquin Buckley. Whether that's a highlight reel knockout or not, let me do Buckley, right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. Some people let stuff get to their heads and others don't. It's hard to gauge that. In the terms of that highlight reel, I don't think that seeing it would do much to me or one of my fighters that much. I think the hype in the press from the time your fight of the knockout against Impa into booking the next fight, that's what you start to buy into or not, and this and that. And then you kind of decide during that course of time, there's a lot of pressure, can I handle it? But in terms of like right then, right there on the spot, I don't know that it would affect somebody. If it hadn't affected them that entire process, I don't think it would. And if it did affect them throughout that entire process, I think that would highlight and add more stress onto it right then and there.
All right, let's keep this trade moving on, Santino. We got Nate Maness going up against Tony Gravely. In terms of odds, we're looking at minus 200-ish for Gravely and plus 175 for Nate Maness. I'll quickly go over this and then hand it over to you. I'm a big fan of Tony Gravely. I think he can go out there and have a pretty successful UFC career, given his wrestling background, given his ability to continuously ground fights. I think that's a very good trait that he has. And then he has some pretty crushing top power as well in terms of finishing opponents, whether it's with ground and pound or with the submission. Nate Maness, on the other hand, looks to be more of a striker, definitely better with his jiu-jitsu when he's in club and sub situations like the Luke Sanders fight or the or when he's on top of his fighters compared to when he's on his back. We saw in the Johnny Munoz Jr. fight, where when he was taken down, it didn't seem like he had much resistance. Like he was giving up some positions against a guy like Munoz Jr., who, albeit was born on a mat, to BJJ ace over there. And I felt as though he was really close to finishing Nate Maness at the ending of that first round. If he had maybe 10 more seconds, he probably would have got him out of there. Then, unfortunately for Johnny Munoz, he was unable to ground Nate Maness in that second round, and that's where Maness started to take over and ultimately win that fight. In the Luke Sanders fight, it seemed another spot where it was clear as day to a lot of people where let's go out there, just try to get Maness down, and that's where you probably have the best path to success. Obviously, I'll let you kind of explain that. You guys were, I believe, cornering Luke Sanders that night, so you guys can give us a little bit more insight. But I do think that Gravely has shown that he goes out there, uses the takedown when he needs to use it, and I feel like he's going to do that this weekend against Nate Maness, and I actually think he can get him out of there. So another sneaky spot I like in this fight, under 2.5 is plus 155. That covers a possible Nate Maness KO or late finish, which I think he is possible of doing, or it covers that Tony Gravely top control, which I think he'll be able to get in the first and second round and then quickly find a finish quickly thereafter. I do like the Tony Gravely side. I am pretty confident on him this weekend, especially if he's able to go out there and use his wrestling and ground this fight and, nullify that striking advantage I think that Nate Maness has here. So yeah, I'm taking Gravely by finish, probably first or second round, and the under 2.5 is another spot that I like. Speak on this fight. Obviously, you guys know Nate Maness a little bit just because of having to prepare for him in the past. How do you think he stacks up against Gravely, and what do you think happens tomorrow night?
I think it's spot on. I think Gravely, he's about Luke Sanders' height. He's got good wrestling and he throws bombs. And I think Luke tagged Maness up quite a bit in that first round. Almost think he could have put him away in a couple different areas. And, Luke, he just had a big adrenaline dump, gassed hard. He hadn't fought in 2 years. Kind of had a weird warm up and stuff. He just whatever, for whatever reason, he gassed out in that second round. And with that, he kind of just fell asleep for a second. I remember afterwards he threw a punch and just kind of like waited and turned around. And when he turned around, Maness was just there and hit him, dropped him and got the finish. Maness is durable. He's tough. I think he's going to be a good addition to the roster. I think he's going to be a good 500 fighter. But I think Gravely wins it. I think Gravely can do to Maness what Luke Sanders did to Maness in that first round without gassing. And then I think it just continues for 2 or 3 rounds. My only disagreement there, not even disagreement, my curiosity is, I don't know if he puts Maness out. Maness is just a tough guy. He's been finished once before and has only lost to a body shot. But I think he's going to be one of those guys who just won't die. I think he's going to be hard. I think Gravely's going to win really like 30-27 across the board, maybe 30-26, maybe he gets a 10-8 round in there somewhere. But I don't know if he'll put Maness away. Dude's tough as nails.
For me, the reason I kind of lean on the inside the distance is seeing the positions that Munoz was able to get to and almost finishing him. I think that we're going to see a little bit more gas tank out of Gravely and more dominance from that top position, that he should be able to either get a ground and pound finish or a submission of some sort. Before we move on to the next fight, in terms of that Luke Sanders fight, do you mind sharing what the game plan was going into that fight? Like, was it to go out there and sling some bombs and try to knock this guy out, or was it to eventually mix in some takedowns?
No, it was absolutely get some takedowns, sling bombs. Because Luke has like cannons in his hands. Like, you see him, he touches people and they're rocked. It was get bombs, take Maness down. The thing though is Luke is a leg wrestler. He shoots, he takes people down beautifully. He's got these beautiful high crotch single switch into a double takedowns, high crotch lift takedowns, double leg. And in that fight, he was going all upper body. And he doesn't. I've never seen him once in the room go for an upper body takedown. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen him once go for an upper body clinch, body lock type of takedown. And I think that really threw him off. Maness is taller, wouldn't die. And then, Luke gassed out and was going for those upper body takedowns that I think that was I think it'd been a long time. It'd been 2 years since he fought. Last time he fought was Barao. He had full reconstructive ACL surgery. Then COVID hit. Then he had a baby born. And there were some major complications with that. So it was 2 years. A 2-year layoff for a 25-year-old is not that big of a deal. A 2-year layoff with a 34-year-old is a much bigger deal. And I think Father Time just caught up to him, and just being out of the cage for that long caught up to him. And Maness was able to weather the Luke storm, and Luke was not able to get that takedown like we thought he was going to, and like the game plan was to get. And Maness capitalized.
I like a shout out to Cool Hand Luke Sanders, who actually just hung up his gloves. I believe yesterday he put out the post. So shout out to him.
One of my favorite humans on the planet, man. Awesome. That guy is just nothing but pure awesomeness.
I love it. I love it. All right. Out of respect for your time, we're going to keep this train moving on for the next fight here. Fight that I'm
Out
very
of
much looking
respect for the
forward to.
viewers' time.
For you, my man. Again, you're doing this pro bono. You're sitting over there. I know you're cooped up in a hotel room and you probably got some things to do. So I do appreciate you carving out some time. Or Eddie forcing you to carve out some time for me.
Yeah, this is all Eddie. You can thank him.
For sure, for sure. All right.
Eddie's my new manager.
I like it. You got to give him a cut or something when you start getting
handles all my bookings.
I love it. All right. Very much looking forward to Arman Tsarukyan here going up against Christos Giagos. I think Tsarukyan is the real deal. This guy is going to be top 3 in no time. In terms of odds, obviously, he is the biggest favorite on the card. Minus 750, plus 600 is the return on Christos Giagos. Very interested to hear your thoughts on both. Well, specifically Arman Tsarukyan, and also if you think that Christos Giagos actually has a chance in this fight. How do you see this one going down, brother?
Again, this is, I told you I was going to be annoying. Well, we fought Christos with Drakkar. So I know him well. That dude in round 1 is a freaking world beater. He is phenomenal. He really has good hands. His jiu-jitsu is great. His wrestling is good. The guy is really, really good. And he fades hard. He fades, absolutely fades hard. That said, I think Tsarukyan wins this. I think smart money is on Tsarukyan. But I think Tsarukyan showed some holes against Matt Frevola in the first round. I think Frevola was able to reverse him a little bit, create some scrambles, was able to get back up, throw a little bit, where on paper, you wouldn't expect that. I think he lateral dropped him. Lateral dropped him or hip dive. I forget what it was. I think it was a lateral. It just had a couple moments that were just a little shocking. I think Christos is actually going to have some of those good moments in that first round. And I would not be surprised if Christos is close to a submission in that first round, a Darce, a guillotine, a rear naked choke off of some of those things. He does need a Hail Mary to win it. He's got to get that submission in that first round to get, for any chance to win. That said, I don't think he does, but it wouldn't. I think Tsarukyan wins it. I think it's smart for him to be the favorite like that, but it would not be the craziest thing I've ever seen to see Christos like wild some shit in round 1 and end up catching him, which would be a huge upset. It would be a massive upset. Not like I would say bet Christos. I think Tsarukyan wins it, but it would be I think it wouldn't even be it's not a Holly Holm Ronda Rousey type of upset in my book, because Christos has that jiu-jitsu pedigree, but he also he's very dynamic. He's very explosive. So again, Tsarukyan wins this. I think he is solid. I think he is the real deal. His cardio, that dude will never get tired. He could run across country with wrestling bears the whole time, and he would be breathing like you and I are now. I'm probably breathing heavier speaking than he is wrestling bears on a cross country run. He's a smart money. I wouldn't bet it just because the line.
It's crazy, right?
It's not a good line to bet. It's not a good line to bet. You got to put, $800,000, $900,000 down to win $100. And Christos has some of that dumb, upset style. So you don't want to bet $1,000 to win it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze on that one. Stay away from that bet. Tsarukyan probably wins it, but who cares? Because nobody should be betting that fight anyway.
My guy Jack 9440 bringing up a prop here. Giagos by submission 33-1 for him to lock up something here. So plus 3,300, not bad. If you do think he has a little bit of a shot to snatch something up here, I think Tsarukyan is the shit, man. I think that him and Islam Makhachev are actually going to have a rematch for the title in the next maybe 2 years or so. Talk about a tough UFC debut going up against Islam Makhachev on short notice, but Tsarukyan made a very good account of himself, man. He was going takedown for takedown with Islam. He had his own moments of success there, and that's not something you can say for a lot of Islam's opponents.
No,
so Tsarukyan obviously used to be over there at Tiger Muay Thai. It seems like something's going on over there. Is closing up shop. I believe George Hickman already left over there. But now Tsarukyan, Piotr Yan as well, finding themselves down at American Top Team, which I think is good for them to be able to get those bodies and get that type of training. My thing here is, taking Tsarukyan inside the distance due to that heavy fall off of Christos Giagos later in fights. I do think that Tsarukyan will be able to put on a pace that's going to tire out Giagos by that 6th or 7th minute. Then he should be able to take over from there. I think he has the better striking. His striking is obviously improving on a fight-to-fight basis as well. And I think it's plus 170 right now for Tsarukyan to win inside the distance.
I like that bet. That is a bet I could get behind. Tsarukyan inside the distance. That's something that I would go for. A straight up at negative 800, 900, 1,000. No, it's not worth it. But Tsarukyan inside the distance. Now you're talking. Now you're talking my language.
Let's go, Santino. You got the casino right up the street. No, let's go. Plus
which I can't get to. What's that? Water everywhere, and all the boards that shrink. Water everywhere, nor any casino to get to.
I love it. But yeah, I like Tsarukyan here. I actually did. I was that schluck. I was that square that parlayed Tsarukyan with that fight doesn't go to decision that we talked about earlier with Montel Jackson and JP Bays. I got minus 150 on that parlay. I think it's
those are good odds. You add stuff like that. You put in a parlay. Don't put all your money on eggs in one basket, something like that. Like you said, a prop bet, a parlay bet, something like that you think absolutely go do it. Don't throw $1,000 down to win $100 on Tsarukyan. It's just the straight bet's not worth it. He probably wins it, but it's Giagos. He's got the slightest chance of a wild dynamic style. There are better matchups for those odds. Like again, if it was, if Tsarukyan was minus 200, I'd say bet the house on him. Minus 900, just.
Right there with you. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Mandy Bohm going up against Ariane Lipski. I feel as though this is one of those fights you're not going to have a good read on either of these fighters. So I'll kick things off here.
No, man, bring it. I know Ariane. She's coming.
Okay, let's go. Kick it off.
I know her. She, her and her
Sorry,
husband
did you say she trained with you guys? Is that what
she's come up and trained with us at Fight Ready? Not like for a camp or anything, but just while she's in town, she's come up for a week or two here or there, and. Her husband, who's her main coach, is such a nice guy. She's phenomenal. She's such a sweetheart of a human. I think they're at ATT now, training full time, which is a good camp. And I think Bohm is a poor man's version of a woman, poor woman version of Ariane Lipski. I think they're both Muay Thai fighters.
That's a damn good comparison, actually. Yeah,
they're it. I mean, they're Muay Thai fighters who are long and gangly, but have a good Muay Thai clinch, who neither have great wrestling and have decent jiu-jitsu. I think with that said, I think Ariane has the better all of those things, and just has the more experience, and she's fought tougher people. If you look at Bohm's opponents, her last opponent in Bellator is 5-3. The opponent before that, I think, was 3-1. And then I think, don't quote me on this, but almost every other opponent was like 0-1, 1-1, 0-0, 0-0.
I think a lot of that was over in Germany, and then her last two fights was TKO up here in Canada, and then the other one was Bellator, like you said. But very sketchy competition on German regional.
The competition's not great. Bohm throws her. She has a fast jab. She moves okay standing. Her straight punches are good, but man, she throws so many of these looping hooks, left and right hooks, doesn't matter. And they are slow and they have no power on them whatsoever. I think her real, where she shines as a striker is her clinch. She's got a good clinch. She throws good knees and she's tall. That said, I think Ariane is Ariane. I don't know.
Either or.
My pronunciations of names are the worst in the book. But I think Lipski, is I think she's more athletic. I think she's faster. I think she's more dynamic, and I think she's more experienced. And I think all things equal, Lipski is a better version of Bohm, and I think she gets the win.
I am picking Lipski here as well. My main concern, and it's why I can't put my money on Lipski until we see this improvement, is that takedown defense and her inability to get back to her feet. That's just, it weighs too much on me. Like, a part of me could see a world where Bohm does land a takedown and then Lipski just is not able to get back to her feet. Like, I know she had that weird knee bar victory over Luana Carolina a couple fights back. That was, once in a lifetime situation, right? You don't see that scenario more often than not. But here, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Bohm goes out there, tries to land a takedown. She has the ever highly touted Daniel Weichel in her corner as her main training partner, and obviously her head coach over there. So obviously black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's probably going to want to try to instill that on her, especially when it says clear as day on fight tape. If you watch any of Ariane Lipski's fights, you can see that she has an issue in terms of trying to get back to her feet. That's obviously something you got to believe that Bohm and those guys over there in ATT are going to try to remedy so that she can get back to her feet and let her weapons go, which is why she's been given the nickname the Queen of Violence, right, over there in KSW when she was fighting in Poland. We haven't seen her achieve her full potential yet in the UFC.
We haven't seen the violence.
Exactly. Yeah. Lipski comes out to the cage, but the violence stays in the locker room.
Yeah.
That's what I've been saying the last couple of fights, right? Like
the closest thing to violence we've seen with her is that knee bar, and that was a jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
That wasn't even striking, and that was legit. It was awesome, but that was the closest thing. So
yeah. So that's just my main concern there. It's mainly is Lipski going to be able to get back to her feet if Bohm does decide to take this fight to the ground? If she can, she will have a field day on the feet, in my opinion. And I think she could actually get her out of there too. I think we might see that pent up rage of Lipski come out, and she's been on tough times so far on a 2-fight skid here. If she's able to go out there, get her hands going, get her elbows going, get that Muay Thai going, she's going to put Bohm into some trouble. So I like Lipski here. I like her inside the distance as well, especially if she can get her striking going and get off her back. And then the under 2.5 is another spot that I like as well, in case Bohm does pull something out of her butt, in my opinion. Plus 185 for the under 2.5. Not too bad of a line there. All right, let's keep this train moving on. We got the co-main event coming up. Iwan Cutelaba going up against Devin Brown Bear Clark. Santino, I'll let you kick this one off, brother. What do you think about these guys? Who gets their hand raised tomorrow?
Well, I'm just wondering if Ian Cutelaba is Sean Strickland's cousin, because he seems as batshit as Sean Strickland. Not quite. I mean, it's hard to. There are levels to batshit, and I don't think he can.
Strickland is more vocal. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, Strickland is. He's another level of like awesome. Like he is just wild. I love him. He is wild.
Oh yeah.
He is out there. I love his antics. I think he's a lot of fun. But I mean, he says some wild shit. So Cutelaba seems to kind of the same thing. I think Cutelaba wins this. I think he's the better striker. He likes to fight more, and I think Clark. I don't know that Clark likes to fight. I think he likes to compete, and there's a very, very, very big difference in that. When he gets hit, he shells up, almost to the point where you could almost stop a fight anytime he shells up, because he's really, really over exaggerates it. Not over exaggerates it, but like stays there for too long. He really takes a shot there. He looks very uncomfortable when he's getting hit. He is not a polished striker. But that said, he's not a phenomenal wrestler either. So I think he's strong. I think he's athletic. I think he's dynamic. I think we're going to see him come out there like he does and just absolutely blitz Cutelaba and try and put him on the mat fast and early. But I think Cutelaba is a little grittier, a little grimier, and I think he has more ways to win. And I think eventually they'll be on their feet long enough for Cutelaba to find Clark's chin enough to put him away. I think this is a finish. I think Cutelaba finishes this.
I like it. I do agree with you there. I will be taking Cutelaba by KO as well. The one fight that kind of sticks out to me for Clark in terms of, I do agree with you in the fact that he doesn't take a shot well. He kind of turtles up almost immediately, but we got to give him some praise for that Alonzo Benefield fight where he was able to take some shots. He busted his eye, and for some way and somehow he was able to withstand that and give Alonzo Benefield his first ever loss. Goes out there and pretty much clinch fucks him. That's the epitome of clinch fuck. He goes out there.
No, that's how he wins. That's exactly how he wins.
I think not necessarily get the takedown, but just doing work up against the cage.
If he wins, it's the same way that Hannah Goldy needs to win.
Yes.
Like they have the same path to victory. Big, strong, athletic, push against the fence and hope you ride the clock.
Yeah, my main concern with Cutelaba, I do think he has a bit of a gas tank issue. I feel as though his power does start to fall off probably in that 6th or 7th minute. So if he is going to get anything going, it's got to be early here. I think he'll actually be able to stuff a couple takedowns here from Clark, or even if he does get taken down, I think we'll see him quickly get back to his feet and then let his hands go after that and find that chin of Devin Clark. So I'm glad we're actually on the same page here of the co-main event. Speaking of a fighter that actually did fight Devin Clark recently, and is in the main event, we got Ryan Spann going up against Anthony Smith. In terms of odds, we're looking at minus 160 for Anthony Smith, plus 140 for Ryan Spann. I'll give you my thoughts on this, and then I'll let you digest it and give us your thoughts after that. Anthony Smith was one of those guys I was kind of writing off after his Alexander Rakic fight. I didn't think that he was really showing anything since the third round of the Glover Teixeira fight, where he wanted to win, right? Like he was just getting stuck on his back. Maybe trusted his jiu-jitsu a little bit too much, but it just didn't feel like he was that active off of his back. But he was just getting grounded by these guys, couldn't do anything off of his back. Then he bounces back, obviously, with that Devin Clark win, short notice main event slot back in November. And then he had that weird fight against Jimmy Crute where he was a decent underdog, but he did get his striking going. And then obviously he landed that weird kick that messed up Jimmy Crute's leg over there. I do like Anthony Smith in this spot, though. I do think he's durable enough to withstand those big strikes from Ryan Spann. I think Ryan Spann's cardio is another spot that kind of starts to fall off after that 7th or 8th minute. We did see him get a little bit lazy in that third round against Sam Alvey, getting hit a couple times, almost got 10-8'd in that round. You probably could have given that a draw, to be honest, but I just don't like what we've been seeing from Spann when he gets pushed later into fights. He's going to have to get Anthony Smith out of there early. If he doesn't, hey, Haile Alateng, there he is. That's the guy. Does he speak English?
No.
He does not speak English.
We've got all the crew, and this is our workout room. We got foil on the ground.
Behind the scenes access for you guys.
I put a light up here so we could get a little bit better lighting. It was like tipped over to the side. It was in the back, so we're awesome. Getting it done right now.
Tell him we're saying we're good luck. I know a lot of people that are on him this weekend. So yes, let's go. I like it. Awesome. But yeah, I'll quickly wrap this up here. Anthony Smith, I think he withstands the early onslaught, and then he takes over in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, probably finds a finish in that 3rd or 4th round, whether it's via TKO on the ground or he locks up a submission. He does have a nasty jiu-jitsu game of his own, but it's when he's on top where he does his best work. So yeah, if Ryan Spann's not able to get him out of there in that 2nd round or that 1st or 2nd round, I think he's going to be in some trouble. The last line I will say before handing this off to you, fight doesn't go to decision, is -290. A little bit chalky, but I definitely think a parlayable piece as well. Throw in a parlay with Tsarukyan or throw in a parlay with Aaron Blanchfield and you get some better odds. But one thing for sure, I feel like we can guarantee this fight's not going to a decision. And I actually do think that Anthony Smith is the rightful favorite and he will get his hand raised this weekend. Break down the main event for me, Santino. How do you think this one goes down, brother?
Well, I think you're right. If Spann wins, I think it is a decision. I think the only way that Spann wins is a decision. I think if Smith wins, I think it's a finish. I broke this fight down a little bit the other day for an article, and I incorrectly thought it was a 3-round fight. And I thought in a 3-round fight, I think Ryan Spann wins it. I think Ryan Spann gets him to the cage. And Anthony Smith, for as tough as he is, has some of the worst takedown defense at that high of a level that we'll see in our sport right now. Do you know what Smith is ranked right now?
I will quickly pull that up.
He's top 10 though, right?
I believe he's top 10. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, somebody top 10, top 15 who is taken down as much as he is. Like, I just don't know anybody else in the top 10 or 15 in any division that gets
number
taken
6
down.
Is number 6.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't think of anybody in any division that gets taken down as much as he does at that high of the level. That said, Spann gets the takedown. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, and I think he's going to get the takedown. He's a Saeed guy. Same thing I said in the other article is those guys are generally tough. They're tough. They're not native wrestlers, but they do well on the cage. They grind it out. And I think he'll do that. I think that's what he's going to do. And originally I said Spann wins a 3rd round, or I'm sorry, he wins a decision. I think he wins it. Yeah. And then he was like, well, it's a 5-round fight. And I was like, well, shit. It makes me think, Anthony Smith, for as bad as his takedown defense is, that dude has some aces up his sleeve. And I think he can, pull a hat trick. And I think the 2 keys to Smith's victory are getting enough shots in and scoring while he's on his feet before he gets taken down, and then trying to find a hat trick in the 4th and the 5th round. I think he might be able to do that. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm sticking to my guns, and I think Spann ends up winning this. I think this is going to be, if Spann has the cardio to go 5 rounds, I think he without the damage. Is it Rasic, his last guy? Is that how you say his last opponent? Smith's? Rasic?
No, his last opponent was Cruz. His last loss was Alexander Rakic.
Yeah. But the Cruz one too. Smith was losing that fight. Smith, he was getting
taken down. He was getting taken down
at will. Yeah. He was getting taken down. He got that calf kick. It messed his leg up. Like that was a crude fight here and there. That fight was about to end up just like Rasic. I can't say a damn name.
Rakic.
Rakic.
Come on, Gino.
That was a Rakic fight and a Glover fight. That was about to happen. I think Spann can do the same thing. I don't think he's going to put the damage on him that those other guys were able to, just in terms of ground and pound. But I think he's going to get the takedown, or just push him to the cage and clinch him. I think he's going to grind him out. And I think really, as long as Spann doesn't screw up or gas, I think he gets a 5-round decision out of it.
Yeah, I think this is the first time all week I've actually heard somebody taking Spann by decision, but I can definitely see that grapple fucking path to victory for him. For me, it's more so, can he keep it up for 25 minutes? Yeah. I don't think he can. Right. I really do think that his productivity starts to drop off in that 11th and 12th minute of fights.
Yeah. That worries me. That his cardio does worry me. But he's got good jiu-jitsu too. He might be able to pull. I don't know when the last time we've seen Smith submitted, but Smith has good jiu-jitsu, but so does Spann, and Spann grabs necks, not arms. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if he were to grab a neck. Okay, we're gonna head walking.
All right, perfect. We're just two last thoughts. Yeah, I'll get that going in about 5 minutes. Two things I want to. I wish I could have you on for next week as well, because we have a big UFC 266 card. But there's two predictions I just want to offer you from right off the bat. Main event of next week: Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. Obviously, there's a little bit of a fight-ready connection there, a little love fest going on. But if you could give some sort of prediction, how do you see that one going down?
I think Ortega gets it. I think he gets it because I think, first of all, he's a southpaw, so that takes away the calf kicks that Ortega is known for. And Ortega is known. People have to keep their distance and be very wary because of the takedown of Volkanovski. You're going to shoot in and put your neck near Brian Ortega. Go for it. So I think Ortega's our next champ.
You think he gets a sub, or do you think he just pitters him, kind of what he did to TKZ? Do you think that'll look similar to that fight?
I don't know. I could see either of those things happening. He's long, he's rangy, he's a southpaw. Neither would surprise me.
All right, with all due respect to Lauren Murphy, I'm not going to ask you about Murphy and Shevchenko, but I am very curious to hear your thoughts on the return of Nick Diaz, and probably a wet dream in terms of a matchmaker going up against Robbie Lawler in his return here. How do you think that fight goes down? And also, what do you think about Nick Diaz coming back after what is that, 7 years off, 6 years off that he's been now?
That is the $1 million question: is what has Nick Diaz been doing? Why is he coming back right now? Does he need money? Has he been training? Like, what's going on? Robbie has been training, and he's had his downs. The Woodley knockout was bad, and that was a few years ago. But it wouldn't surprise me if if Nick Diaz looked great. But I think Robbie gets it. He's smarter these days. He's more calculated. He is phenomenal. He's not going to be worried about things, and I think Robbie gets the victory.
I love it. Last thing, what is your essential lock of the night play for tomorrow's card? You like Tsarukyan inside the distance, Aaron Blanchfield? Well, what's the one that sticks out to you the most? You want to give the viewers here? If they're taking Santino DeFranco's word for it, going to the betting window, what are you telling them to bet on for tomorrow?
Aaron Blanchfield. Like, I think that's the biggest lock of the night. Straight up, the odds aren't great. She's -600. See if you can find a parlay or something.
Yeah.
Oh, is she -300? Okay. Yeah, I was thinking Buckley. Throw in a parlay with Buckley. Throw in a parlay with Buckley and Tsarukyan under the inside the distance, something like that, and I think you can make some good money on those.
Awesome. I love it. Santino, thank you so much for doing this. Obviously, shout out to Eddie for bullying you into this. Thank you for doing it. Is there anything you wanna say on the way out here, and then I can wrap up the show?
No, not at all, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I guess I'd just say don't lose all your money betting.
Yes, gamble responsibly. Wise words from Santino DeFranco. Thank you, Santino. Good luck tomorrow.
Go put your money in 401k and stocks.
There you go. Good luck to Highly Alateng and the team tomorrow. Hopefully you guys come out with the victory. And then I believe you guys are back next week in Vegas for Jonathan Pierce going up against Omar Morales. That should be a great fight. Can't wait. Looking forward to that one as well. I hope to bump into you in Vegas next week. I will be coming down on Thursday all the way there to Sunday. So I'm gonna have my peepers on for you and Eddie. But yeah, good luck on the fights tomorrow. Appreciate all the live viewers that we have. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, and then show my guy Santino DeFranco some love. I have his IG profile in the description as well as his YouTube channel. Let's get those fucking subscribers up for Santino. You drop some solid content on there on a week-to-week basis. Sometimes we'll give you a pick on pay-per-views. Go ahead, Santino.
You know, the one thing I would say is, you know, if anybody has questions, like I was, you know, am open to questions, doing a podcast or just even a YouTube video about training questions, things like that. If anybody ever wants to shoot me a question, I love adding some pieces to the puzzle. So feel free.
What's the best way to get a hold of you? Would you say
DM me on IG? Yep, IG.
Yeah. There you go. If you guys want to get a hold of Santino, there you guys have it. All right, Santino, again, appreciate you coming on. And good luck on your bets tomorrow. Gamble responsibly.
Good luck with your bets.
Yes, gamble responsibly, but make sure we make some money tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Appreciate everybody joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.